Hey everybody, it's the ShopNotes podcast. That's right, time again for another check-in with me. I'm your host, Phil Huber, along with John Doyle and Logan Whitmer today. It's episode number 241. We did it. Made it all the way here. You can check all of our past episodes and the show notes pages over at woodsmith.com/podcasts. Thanks for everybody who's listening, and also for people who subscribe to Woodsmith, ShopNotes, or Popular Woodworking Magazine. It's your support that makes this all possible. On today's episode, we're going to get a couple of check-ins, and it's high summer, with all the associated things that go along with it. We'll also get a report from Logan on his recent trip to Las Vegas. That's right, Las Vegas in summer. Why not? We'll get things started here with a special word from our sponsor. This episode of the ShopNotes podcast is brought to you by Harvey Industries. Good enough is not good enough. See all of our new tools at harveywoodworking.com. All right. The last time we did a podcast, John and I did a little check-in here. So we're going to just read off a few comments and then give us an opportunity for Logan to check in too. Stephen Ferguson writes, you hit a lot of check marks on this one. Corn Sweat, Field of Dreams has a good visual with the fog hanging above the corn. That's true. Radio in the shop, I'm so glad Dubuque has a station keying on the 80s to overcome the voices in my head. 4-H, so cool you guys help judge. I grew up in 4-H, and my son even tried his hand at a woodworking project when he was of age. Heat index, even with a fan, I'm stopping when I'm raising more grain than I'm removing because of sweat falling on the project. Which I remember working on a desktop project, and was 2 layers of plywood, did solid wood breadboard ends on it, and I was getting ready to put stain on it, and I had some sweat drip onto the wood. 1 bead. Didn't realize it until I was putting stain on, and because it's even an oil-based stain, and that spot is now permanently darker on the project. Super, super irritating. James Scottingham, 2205, says, we're having those same heat warnings here in Southside, Virginia, 110 plus. My workshop is a shed, no heating, no cooling. I tend to burn up fans in the summer, so a couple of years ago, I finally broke down and bought an industrial fan that was on sale at Home Depot. It has 3 speeds, but all 3 seem like the same speed. However, it does work. For the winter, I bought an infrared wall-mounted patio heater. It's supposed to cover a whopping 18 square feet. That's about the size of my workspace in the shed. I've yet to stay in the shed long enough in the winter to see how well it works. Puppy Doc says, wow, guilted into subscribing as soon as I was called out. Yeah, that's right.
I mean...
There we go. We're going to go back through the old Pages subscriber list and call each person out by name to get them over to the new
17
ShopNotes
of those
channel.
Names.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't make us do it.
Especially Sauna Man.
Yeah.
Don't remember. Harold. There you go.
Harold.
Yep.
Yeah, is that what
Harold
it is?
McDonald?
Okay. Yep.
I think so. He had a farm.
Seems right. Because he's frankly the whole reason why we keep track of the time that we're recording on here is to make sure that we get.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. John Vogt says here in Maine, Portland, we have basements. The outside temperatures can vary from 10 to 35 degrees in the winter to 60 to 88 in the summer. I decided to place my shop in the basement rather than the garage. The basement isn't heated or air conditioned. The temperature varies from 66 in the winter to 73 in the summer. The EMC varies from 7 to 8 in winter to 12 to 13 in the summer. This hybrid shop is 14 by 25 and can store about 800 board feet of wood, mostly cherry, walnut, ash, poplar, sapele, and hard maple. Like all the domestics. That way the wood is ready to use. Wood movement here in Maine is important to be aware of, so all pieces need to allow for the fairly wide range of EMC. For example, a 24-inch wide coffee tabletop will vary by 1/4 of an inch from winter to summer. Joinery is adjusted for this. A couple more from Puppy Doc here. In the last episode, Logan mentioned moving his dust collector out of the shop. A couple of months ago, I upgraded to a Oneida Supercell, which I think is what you have, right, Logan?
No, I did. I have the Gorilla Smart Gorilla Pro now.
Oh,
but
okay.
I'm pretty sure Bob had asked me about the Oneida, and I was like, that's the one I would get for his shop for sure.
Okay. And he absolutely loves it, except for one major flaw. It really puts out some serious heat in the shop. His shop is big enough that it may not be noticeable, but in my tiny 8x18 shop, it's awful, and the window AC just can't keep up. I'm in the process of moving it into the attached garage and ducting through a door, but it's been too danged hot here to do anything in the garage. I need AC in the garage. He also said, interesting facts. A study was done several years ago to evaluate what kind of music stimulates the best milk production in dairy cattle. Classical music, Bach, Mozart, etc., produced best results, followed by country and Western, both kinds of music. Apparently, the losses were pretty dramatic when heavy metal or acid rock was played.
I would just like to know what the business proposition was. Like, what was your plan? What was your proposal going into that, saying, hey, I want to do a study. You see these 65 dairy cows? I want to split them up. Punk rock over here, gangster rap over here, Mozart in the back. Yeah. Which one gives us the most milk?
Yep. And go. Yep.
Bad enough that somebody funded that.
Yeah.
Come on.
Paul Wheeler's...
Mm-hmm. I think we need to try K-pop next.
That's true.
That's kind of a new Korean pop music. I think there's some milk production.
But then I feel like
there.
you'd have to go head to head with like 80s, 90s boy bands then, like just to have like a control on that, right?
Yes.
Paul Wheeler says, for anyone who watched or grew up on the New Yankee Workshop, Norm had a drawer full of routers set up to do any task. That is where it was engraved into the psyche that you could not have too many. He lives in Nebraska, same weather issue. True story. And then Larry Atha says, I have 7 routers. 1 old Ryobi, 1 Bosch 1617 EVS in a Bosch router table, Porter cable 690 with a plunge base, and I keep 4 Makita RT0701C trim routers, 2 with plunge bases, 2 with regular bases, each set up for a particular cut and a bit with or without bushings to be used in a particular jig. I'd like to have a few more. All right. I live in North Alabama where it's hot, and my 250 square foot shop has a window air conditioner, but I don't like to get bitten by mosquitoes on the way to the shop in the evenings, 15 feet from the back door. P.S. So I stay in the house and work on designs on the drafting board in July and August frequently. I've also been ordering all the hardware and tools needed to make a Tayfrid-inspired Scandinavian hobblebank. Note to self, Google hobblebank after this episode.
IKEA translator here.
All right. As always, we appreciate your questions, comments, and smart remarks because it gives us ideas of what you want to hear about and to answer the poll questions that we frequently have in here as part of the podcast. So I think we'll kick things off. Logan, you were in Vegas. What was that, like a week ago, week and a half ago now?
Almost 2 weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say, believe it or not, it was nicer in Las Vegas than it was in Des Moines, weather-wise. It was a high of like 98, 99 every day, 1% humidity, and it felt wonderful. Like, in the shade, it was, I wouldn't say cool, but you could stand out there without sweating. In the sun, you were sweating, but you didn't know you're sweating because it evaporates so fast.
/ boils off.
Yes, yeah. But, like, yeah, it was wonderful. So, yep. Did the AWFS show. Met a lot of... It's funny, we were talking... so there was a lot of us there. Myself, Ben Strano, and Amanda Russell from Fine Woodworking. A couple of our ad guys. Some of our coworkers from Woodshop News were there. And we all kind of said the same thing. It felt like this year there was a lot more hobbyists there than there was in the past. I don't think that's necessarily an accurate statement. I think that there was a lot less business consumers there than in the past. So there was a lot fewer professionals, so the hobbyists stood out more. So I met a lot of people. Got stopped by a lot of people, said, "Hey, I love your podcast," or "Love the TV show," and I'm like, "You need a friend, sir." But yeah, it was cool. Nothing super crazy, nothing groundbreaking at the show necessarily. There were some new tools. Shaper Origin. So Shaper now has a dock for their Origin CNC router that makes it hands-free. So the handheld CNC router is no longer handheld if you don't want it to be. Which is actually really cool. I called that a year ago. I was like, "Hey, you know what'd be really cool?" And they're like, "Yeah, we couldn't speak about that if that was a thing." I was like,
"Right,
gotcha. I know." So that was pretty cool. Harvey was there. There was a couple of cool things there. There was a few things at Bridge City I feel like got overshadowed by some of the Harvey things. So the Harvey crew had their A15 bandsaw, which is available. It was released when I was in China. It is a digitally controlled bandsaw. So there's a touch screen on it. You can change speeds. It reads out tension, table angle, everything like that. So that was there. That was getting quite a bit of attention. But what was getting maybe more attention was 2 new products from them. One of which is called their Baby Gyro. So their Gyro Air dust collectors, kind of like the horizontal style. Their Baby Gyro is more of like a dust extractor. It can suck or blow, so you can use it as like a shop blower to like dust and stuff. That one's pretty cool. I think that will be out sooner than the other one. The other one that they announced there, and they had talked about it when I was in China, is a self-aligning drill press. So think of a drill press where the entire quill moves to where your mark is made. So you mark your workpiece where you need your hole, and there's like 30-some sensors on this thing. It sees your mark, and it moves the center point of the quill to your hole location. Within reason. I mean, you can't step it 5 inches at a time, but you get it within an inch, it's going to find it and go. So that was getting a lot of attention. Take that out, that like moving quill out of it, it seems like a really, really nicely made drill press. Like, it's super heavy. The table is freaking massive, and it is nickel plated. So, and the table's motorized, so you can push a button and the table goes up and down, which is kind of nice. But on the Bridge City side, they had prototypes there of 2 different tools, one of which is a spoke shave, designed by a well-known chair maker. I don't know if it's technically announced, so I don't want to say a name, but Then another one is a pair of like side rabbet planes, which or like edge trimming planes, which were pretty cool. What else did I see there that was considered new? Those were the two big ones. SawStop has a new fence for their table saws. It is an upgrade option, so as you are ordering your saw, you can upgrade to the fence. It is a direct replacement for the current fence, so like if you want to order their new style fence, you can just take your Biesmeyer style fence off and put this new fence on there. Has an aluminum face on it with quick release clamps on it, so you can quickly go from high to low fence on it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep. And I think if there was anything else that was super crazy. There was a lot of newer things that were kind of like what I would consider industrial-ish. A company called Apollo Sprayers, Apollo Spray Systems. They won one of the innovation awards for a spray gun. So think of like a Fuji spray system or, a standard HVLP gun. But this gun that they released can be ran HVLP with like one of their turbine sprayers, or inside there's a fitting where you could run it standard high pressure off of an air compressor, which is kind of cool. Usually a gun is either compressor or HVLP. This one is dual, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Oneida had a few, speaking of, we were talking about Bob's Oneida Supercell, they had a few prototypes there of their version of a dust extractor, kind of built off their Dust Deputy Cyclone kit that people can buy, but think of like a little 30-gallon drum with the Dust Deputy already installed on top with a motor, so it's kind of like a mini Cyclone dust collector, dust shop vac, which is pretty cool. So yeah, it was a good show. Overall, traffic was pretty light. I don't know if economy's coming into that at all or not, but it was still a good show to go walk around, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you mentioned the fact that in the past there have been a bunch of business/industrial folk there. Is that more like larger shops or small, medium kind of places?
I would say larger
IW.
shops.
Okay, because like IWF in Atlanta definitely gears large shops.
It does, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That definitely is a large shop deal in Atlanta. AWFS in Vegas is quite a bit smaller. Definitely smaller scale as well, but yeah. Yep.
Okay. Cool. And then did you do another article out there too?
Yeah, shot an article with Mr. Jimmy Clues on so Jimmy's been in the wood turning world for such a long time. Made his living demonstrating. And part of that, he's written for a lot of different publications, written for Fine Woodworking, obviously writes for me, has written for the AAW magazine in the past. The one that we ended up shooting, so what I'm getting at is he's at the point where turning just a live edge bowl, it's an interesting technique to show, but it's kind of old news, so he's looking for different things to do. So we did a carved. I don't know where this idea came from, but he was cutting some bowl blanks I sent down to him, and he was making them a little smaller. So I think I had sent him some like 20-some inch ash bowl blanks, and he cut them to smaller blanks. And cutting them into the smaller blanks, he ended up with this tapered, curved offcut that looked like a horn, right? So he had a couple of them already done, and I think I took a picture of one last time I was down there because I thought they were kind of cool, where you take the ash offcut, you do a lot of power carving on it with a like a Fordham or a Arbortech power carver, and you are basically shaping this offcut into the likeness of like a bull's horn. Okay. And then what would be the socket that would attach to the head has a recessed birch box in it with a pewter rim and a colored top. So it's kind of this horn with a box in the end. So it's kind of this ornamental style piece, decorative piece, which is kind of cool. It's a way to show different applications of turning that's not just turning a bowl or turning a spoon or turning a handle. It's like, hey, you can do a little power carving, make this as a stand for a turned piece, whatever. So
right,
yeah, so it'd be pretty cool. And then I hung out for a day and did a little bit of turning of my own, so that was fun. So,
all right,
yeah,
cool,
yep,
love it.
Yeah. We call that professional development.
Got to fulfill your continuing education credits.
That's right.
This episode of the ShopNotes podcast is brought to you by Grizzly Industrial, purveyors of fine woodworking machinery since 1983. Buy direct and save at grizzly.com. John, how about you? What's your update?
Oh, I think we talked about it a little bit last time that Chris and Dylan and I were kind of teaming up to design a new one-wall workshop for ShopNotes and an online education, and we just started filming that this week. So did a little bit of the preliminary introduction and just general talking about setting up shop and that particular project, and getting into the building here next week. And so we got that going on. And I don't know if people know this, but a lot of time, like usually the TV show stuff that we film, the projects from those are from projects in the past, maybe the last couple of years or even farther back, that have already been published and vetted and things like that. So this is kind of interesting that we're mid kind of towards the end of the design and building it before it's been in the magazine. So that's been interesting. And then we also, in the past week or so, laid out projects for season 20, which we'll start filming here probably end of October or November, and decided that episode 1 will be a outfeed table for our shop because we need one. So that's another thing that needs to be designed before we get into TV show season. So starting to work on that too. So
you got to get into shape for TV show season. We got to start like with got 2-a-days or something coming up here.
Right. Yeah, you definitely have to build up to that. So you can't just go in.
Nope, I'm going in raw dog. You guys are going to see me puking in the corner. I'm puking in the corner.
Yeah.
Plenty of water to stay hydrated.
Yep.
Yeah. That's another way to do it. So
definitely a lot of shop projects that have been on your queue recently. So
yes. Yeah, and I enjoy those, so they're fun. It's usually stuff we need around here anyway, so the inspiration, is not too hard to come up with something, because it's not just coming out of the blue. It's stuff we need either in our own shops or in the video studio shop. Or
I was saying, I was thinking about this outfeed table because this is something that's been on my list to build here for the shop, because I have just got rid of my old workbench. New workbench is in place. That's the next shop project here. The one thing that I didn't realize that I really appreciate about the Grizzly table saw that we have is that the dust port is on the side of the saw. Because that is a royal pain with the saw stop, is that it's on the back right where you want to mount an outfeed table. So that's been something I've been trying to figure out, how do I dance around that, because I have to get a hose in there.
I feel like that's pretty. I'm trying to think of a saw that we have that it doesn't come out the back, other than the Grizzly. That seems to be kind of the standard mode of operation, is to come out the back, and then you're either trying to go through the outfeed table with the duct work or take a quick right turn and avoid it. So that is nice with the Grizzly, but definitely something to consider with most other people's saws too.
Yeah, because I mean, it's almost like a dryer, a clothes dryer, where you have this port on the backside, which you occasionally yet regularly need access to for cleaning or general maintenance or whatever. Yeah, all of that kind of stuff. And then, like you said, John, if you put a right angle immediately after that, like that is a great way to kill the airflow from your dust collector. But what's the solution then? Like a slow turn, but then that takes up a lot more space that you end up having to build basically like a Minecraft tunnel through your outfeed table in order for it to work that way. What I'm kind of excited about to see is, we've been talking about what we want to do with the one for the TV show set for the outfeed table, which feels like both in appearance and function is going to be very different from what Logan's going to be doing on his outfeed table, even though they're both kind of the same thing. So it's just really interesting to be able to have that, I don't know how to say it, like just what the needs of the space are and what the needs of the shop is on it. Because I think Logan's is probably, if I'm remembering right, yours is probably going to be longer out from the back of the saw, whereas the one I think John's looking at is wider and not as deep. Part of it is that we're also upgrading our saw in the shop with the sliding table attachment, so that's driving some of this as well, that we want to be able to provide clearance for that. Since we have a Grizzly saw, we're using the Grizzly sliding table attachment on it, but I think you put a slider on your saw, right, Logan?
Yeah, I did. And it's funny, I was actually picking the Harvey guys' brains while I was in their booth a couple weeks ago. Yeah, I have the Harvey slider on mine. Initially, I bought it to go on the shaper, but I really, really like it on the table saw. And I don't really feel like I should spend another $1,200 on another one. So it might just stay on the table saw. But I installed it with the cast iron wing in place, whereas most of them you install it with that cast iron wing taken off. So then the fence is a little bit closer, the sliding is a little bit closer to the saw or to the blade. But then you have to push the table saw rails on my big eye fence off the end of the table, which, I'm sitting in here looking at out the door right now. I think I have room to do that. So, I'm trying to figure that all out, and you do have to take into account the sliding table goes past the saw. So if you're designing an outfeed table, you have to take that into account, or else you're going to be running into it. So,
yeah. Which, to a certain extent, you have to account for that with an outfeed table without a sliding table, because then you got to plow. You're either setting it deliberately low or you're plowing grooves into it for miter gauges, table saw sleds, that kind of thing too.
Yep.
But I think with the sliding table, you're definitely making more structural changes as to where its geographical position is going to end up being. All right, cool. All right, now you've alluded to it, Logan. You have your new workbench. What's the update there?
I don't remember where we last left it, but it is to the point where I have doors not quite glued up. The only thing left to do is drawers. So bench is done. I put the molding. I've been doing a lot of hand tool work on this workbench. Like all the beads were all done with a molding plane. Every surface on the workbench is all a hand planed finish. Nothing is sanded. All the rabbets are cut with a rabbet plane. For no reason other than this is air dried cherry and it just works wonderfully. And it's nice having I got this. I have a Hovarder tail vise in it, so it's quick release tail vise. It is wonderful to use. I have been limping along with a kind of half-butted attempt of a tail vise on my last bench, and it didn't work real well. And now I'm like, oh, this is lovely. This is really nice. So yeah, it's pretty much done. I do need to. The top is not attached currently. Because I need to flip the top over and hog out a little bit of material where this pattern maker vise is going to go. But I think by the end of Friday I should have everything construction-wise done on the bench. Only thing that will be left to do is to install the pattern maker vise. Yeah, and I've been super happy with it. Feels a little bit taller. It's not smaller than my old bench. I thought it was going to be a little smaller. It's not. It's about the same size. It feels a lot more usable, though, because instead of just being an open base, there is 4 drawers, there is doors and a cabinet. It feels a little bit taller. I don't think it is, but it does feel a little bit taller. But my old workbench top was a bowling alley lane that was on top of 2 layers of plywood, and the entire thing had all thread through it to kind of hold it in tension. Definitely had a sag in it. I can notice the flatness in this bench. So, super, super happy with it.
So speaking of hand tools, how exactly did you flatten that workbench?
A CNC flattener. Yeah, so I took the top over to Bobby Three Fingers. We ran it through his slab flattener. You know what? I got mouths to feed, Phil. Oh man, I'll tell you what though, that top is heavy. So it's not as it is not as heavy as my old workbench top though. A guy and his son came last night to pick up my old workbench. I put it on Facebook for free. I'm like, somebody come get it. You can have it if you can come get it. And these guys showed up to get it, and oh my god, I forgot how heavy that top was. That old top was so heavy. This one's definitely not that heavy. So, but yeah, so
awesome. Well, that's nice that you got the other one out.
Yeah, oh yeah, because it was taking up so much room. I couldn't use the slider on my table saw because I was bumping into the top because it was standing on edge at the end of the table saw. So, yeah. Now the next big shop project. My wife's like, all right, you need to be done with shop projects for a while. We have a laundry list of projects that need done around the house for like building projects. I need to build a mailbox, and she wants a couple of lounge chairs for the living room up here and stuff. But I have the outfeed table. The next thing's going to be kind of a matching tool cabinet, but I'm thinking I don't want to do a tool cabinet, like a hanging one. I want to do more like a tool hutch, kind of a la Norm or who Rob Cosman has kind of one where it's more of a counter and a tool wall behind him.
Okay.
I kind of want to do that style where I have storage behind me with open tool, but thought out, every tool has a place type thing.
Yeah.
I will probably do doors.
So if you were to compare it to, say, a home office, it's kind of like a credenza.
Yes, kind of.
Where you have your workbench is your desk where the stuff all happens, but then you keep kind of the necessaries, first order of retrievability kind of thing behind you.
Exactly. To quote Adam Savage. Yep. Yeah. You turn I want to be able to have a cabinet that has my chargers in it, where it's all the batteries are plugged in the cabinet. The router bits and stuff will stay over by the router, but like I want all the tools to have a place, knowing full well that I just gained a lot of storage in this workbench. So
Sure.
that's another thing that I gotta figure out. There's 4 drawers. They're 5.5 inches deep, 26 inches wide, and 22 inches deep, I guess. So they're 5.5 tall. So like there's a lot of real estate there. So I'm gonna probably end up doing some sliding trays in them for like carving tools and stuff like that. But yeah, we'll see.
Okay. It's interesting to me because we were talking about this with the one wall workshop that we're replacing in our photo studio here that John's been talking about, is how there's a domino element here in the sense that all you, quote unquote, all you did was build a new workbench. However, it's pushing over a domino that like reconfigures both what your capacity is for tool organization, and then all of a sudden a bunch of other stuff falls over, and now you're building a workshop credenza, which is going to change a bunch of other stuff too down the road.
Well, and that's like I feel like that's been the entire story of this shop, where it's like I know I can see where I want to go, and it's out there a ways. So it's just like like you said, knock one domino over at a time. It's like, okay, once this is done, here's the things that changes, and now this is what I can do for that. We talked about moving my dust collector. I think I've decided I'm going to hoist it to the ceiling.
Okay.
Because the Oneida guy said there's an 18-inch, what do they call it? It's like air silencer on it, so it's basically a baffle that just has foam on the inside. Oh, you take that off if you want, so I gain another 18 inches of headspace. So, like, it's all of these types of things where it's like, okay, hoist that up, I have room for the metal lathe now. So then that opens up the space between the bandsaws for actually some wood storage, which would be kind of nice. My head is coming from, or for the Moac joiner, so that can get replaced, and then the other jointer can go out. So, like, there's all these, like, things that are moving, tiny little projects, but they're all, the domino analogy is a really good one, where it's like, one domino has to fall for another one to go. So.
But along with that, I feel like we've learned with this outfeed table for the Grizzly table saw, because right now, as it stands, and a lot of table saws come this way, is side support, outfeed table. They're really just tables. Sometimes there's a shelf underneath it, which I get from a manufacturing standpoint, but from a livability in your shop standpoint, they turn into kind of clutter collectors and catch-alls. So we've talked about replacing those with something else, but it's like you almost don't know what you need until you've lived with it for a while either. Like, I don't think you could have gotten where your shop is now when we first started talking about your shop.
No. Well, because I think you have to get in the space and live in it, right? Like, the best laid plans only work until you actually start doing them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, stuff evolves, stuff changes, so just roll with it.
Well, and you've changed as a woodworker too.
Oh yeah,
in response to it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
I still don't know where I'm going to put the panto router though. That's the thing that I'm like, I don't know where that goes. Because I use the damn thing all the time. So it's like, I want it to have its own workbench that's always set up. But I can't do that because I got to move cameras around.
Right.
So that's the thing. I'm like, where does this thing go?
You got all that space above you. You should have it like on a winch where it just like lowers down and then just like it exists above you.
Yeah. Like my topper lift on the other side of the shop.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, like that. Maybe your outfeed table just has a gigantic flip top on it that you just roll it over, and there's the...
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that because it just everything turns into a tile puzzle at that point because it's like,
Yeah,
like it's on a cart. So you think to yourself, it's on a cart. Perfect. I can put it wherever I want. No, there's only a few parking spots available in that shop.
yeah.
So then
If I
you're
got rid
always
of-
wheeling it around.
Yeah, that's true.
You're always
If I got
pushing
rid-
it from one place to another.
If I got rid of a couple lathes, maybe we wouldn't have an issue. But
Let's
I'm not
not
here
do
for
that.
that. No, I'm not here for that.
That's
no.
crazy talk.
Yeah.
Yep. I feel like the video studio shop is slowly being redesigned in John's image because I just think of all the little projects in here that
Yeah.
he hasn't really said, like, I'm just going to rebuild all of this stuff. He's just done it. And then all of a sudden you just realize, oh, crap, like John owns this whole place now.
Yeah. Yeah, like our old clamp cart got too close to my shop organizer, and then it had a baby clamp organizer offspring, and then just slowly stuff is multiplying and reproducing, and so
Yeah, because your shop, the big shop organizer, which I still think is a fantastic, fantastic project, you ended up putting that in the photocopier and hitting like 10% on it and turning it into a tip of a cordless tool station.
Oh, yeah.
That, it was like your shop organizer and your shop valet that you designed several years ago kind of had unholy offspring, and that was what you got.
Yep. Yeah, there's lots of little tidbits and different things that keep reappearing or repurposing, and so
All right. Well, recently I've been working on a few shop projects myself. I was very frequently I see some project idea out there, and I just kind of want to build a version of it myself. And there was a box that Peter Follensby had shown on his Substack about. He had made it years and years ago to hold carving tools, which oddly enough, I had some carving gouges that I kind of wanted to condense into a specific small case as well. And I just really liked the way that this box looked, because his version, I think, was like 5 inches tall, 8 inches wide, like 18 inches, 16, 18 inches deep. And then he had a drawer on the bottom of it, and then a sliding lid for the top compartment, which I just liked the way that layout looked. And then he did all kinds of Follensby carving on it. But I wanted to try out that orientation. And like I said, I have some carving gouges that I end up using together all the time. So it'd just be nice to be able to put all that stuff in one place. So I was working on that as a project, and then had a little bit of a snafu with installing the middle bottom piece on there. So I had to reconfigure that. I'll put a link to an article that I wrote on that particular solution that I had to come up with for that in the show notes page. The other thing that I've been working on is with my son, who's been getting into auto mechanics. And he's been looking at like a rolling tool chest, toolbox kind of thing. I would call it a tool cabinet, but in auto repair land, they just kind of refer to it as a toolbox. And there's all kinds of sheet metal nonsense out there that just isn't really worth it. And then he asked me, like, hey, do you think we could build something that would work? I'm like, yes, we can. And so we've been doing that, which has been a lot of fun to spend some time with him out in the shop, and then also coming up with a layout that he wants and size that he's looking for and all of that stuff. So pretty cool. I'm loving it. And how the tools kind of dictate, tools and workflow can really dictate how a project comes together. And also a little bit of a tradition, because automotive tool cabinets or boxes or whatever have a tradition. So there's a format that he's going for to be able to get at stuff, which is kind of fun to be able to think about and work in another space like that. So anyway, I think we got the main carcass all glued up, put together, and then it's on to drawers, because he wants 3 drawers that are going to be like 42 inches wide. So that his top drawer, when he pulls it out, is going to be like all sockets. And then the second drawer is like wrenches, and then the third drawer is other flat tools. And then below that is we divided the case in half then, and it'll have like 2 deep drawers on one side and like 3 shallower drawers on the other. So, and to John's earlier thing, it's like kind of a magpie, just pulling little details from different carts that we've done around here. Mm-hmm. There's a little bit of the shop cart that we just built for the TV show that's in Logan's workshop now. There's a little bit of a couple of other Chris Fitch cabinets in there, and it's lovely. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to build a big, chunky, solid oak top on it, which I think will be super heavy. Yeah. And trick it out.
I saw the slabs today that I'm going to bring in for you.
All right.
I need the sizes though again, because gotta make sure. Okay. I don't know if you want a solid one or if you want to glue it up.
I don't mind gluing it up. I think we're looking at probably 24, 25 wide, and then like 54 long.
Yeah.
Which I figured we'd glue up, but.
Yep.
He had a guy that works part-time in a repair shop, and one of the other mechanics was like, there's no way that you can build a wood one that's actually going to be as strong or stronger than these metal ones. And I'm like, yeah.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah. I'm going to introduce you to Chris Fitch. Pretty sure he'll be able to rebuild engines on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Love to know whatever you have going on out there for shop projects. It's kind of been a shop project theme here on today's episode. Send us your ideas on what you are building, what you would love to do to add to your shop, or what we're getting right or getting wrong about the things that we've been talking about today. You can send that as an email to woodsmith@woodsmith.com, or leave it in the comments section on the ShopNotes podcast YouTube channel. More and more people are remembering to subscribe over there. Let's get those numbers back up. Love to see the comments in there. Thank you, Puppy Doc, for subscribing. Tell all your friends about it. Once again, this episode is brought to you by Harvey Tools. Check out all their new stuff, including the things Logan was talking about a little bit earlier, over at harveywoodworking.com. See you next week, everybody. Bye.